Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm actually joined by two of Acsom's regular matchday contributors. I'm just going to bring Laura into the screen now, Laura, because I was running late, and I apologise to everybody who's tuning in that, yes, it is my fault, and I will take that on the chin. Couldn't really quite miss that, could you? Listen, it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys for match day. I'm going to ask you, first of all, Kevin McCluskey, to fill us in on what you've been up to in relation to Acsom's blog. It's been relaunched, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it was something that I've been meaning to do for quite a while, actually, was to get that back in the go, because I'd seen it was something that Acsom had previously been doing and been pretty successful at, but just one of those things that kind of fallen by the wayside. So, yeah, apologies to anyone that's going to have to read this, but I fancy myself as a bit of a writer these days. So, yeah, the plan is we're going to bring the blog back. It's going to become quite a regular feature, starting out with kind of just pre-match, post-match content, and then build it up over time as it goes on, looking to bring in some hopefully interesting features and some things that maybe a little bit kind of left wing or out of the norm anyway. Can get a bit of Celtic culture on the blog, so we'll make it a little bit different. Yes,
we have an incredible amount of talent, Laura, within the Celtic fan base. I think we all kind of realise that the level of quality you get, for example, in Celtic fan media is off the scale. And I think that a lot of, I'm not blowing our trumpet here, by the way, I'm talking about Celtic fan media. And there's so much great media content going out there, some brilliant voices. And I think even within our own group, Laura, there's a lot of people who have come together through a love of Celtic, but you and I, we know each other because of your own blogging background, don't we?
We do. I was a blogger for years and years before I put people through the torture of listening to my voice as well. So I used to write for Italian football websites and various other websites, and then started doing book reviews and came across this little known author called Paul John Dykes and thoroughly ripped him to bits, and somehow still became friends out of it. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? I've just been speaking to someone. It was very, very interesting. I love going on to other podcasts. Very, very rarely would it be a Celtic one, but I love going to other podcasts and people just chatting away to you and asking you all these various questions. And we were talking about the fact that, I know a lot of John Pauls, but not very many Paul Johns. I made a laugh about that today because we've now got two Paddies, two Connollys. We've got a Paul John, a John Paul, three Kevins. I don't know what else we need to finish the set. But we're here to talk about Celtic versus Livingston tonight. Is it going to be one on points per pound tonight, Kevin?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's going to be one on the class on the pitch, and I think that class is going to be in the green and white hoops. Aye. I'm not sure where that comment really came from David Martindale. I don't know what it was that kind of encouraged them to come out with it. He's maybe got a fair point that he can make at times that Livy probably do punch above their weight, but I think if he was trying to play mind games or be a little bit smart with that comment, he's chosen the wrong manager to have a go at, because Ange would just, and as he would do, has just slapped him down, because that's what he does. He's a very, very smart man as our Ange, and he knows how to handle these situations well.
You know this, Laura, the whole broadcast today, well, a vast part of the broadcast earlier on today where the two Paddies, Kevin and John, was talking about the way that Ange is able to deal with these situations. And his most recent retort has got to be my favourite. I mean, when you think about the fact that this is a man who, you know, he's freely admitted that he had a fondness for Liverpool growing up. And we know his backstory, which, you know, for me, it's very much in line with Celtic's backstory. When you consider the immigrants coming to Scotland, a football team would be formed as a result of that for the poor dinner tables. And you think of his retort today, and he's talking about, and I loved it because it isn't triumphalism to say we are the biggest club. But that's exactly what he said.
No, it's really it's kind of funny because I'm no stranger to a one-liner or a quick retort of my own, and to see somebody articulating everything you would love to articulate in the way that he does, so intelligently, and not a word is wasted in what he says. It's absolutely brilliant, and he's right in a lot of what he says. Appreciating the fact that fans out there don't have the money to spend that him and the players that he's working with do, and yet choose to spend their money, supporting the club and investing in the club, and he feels a responsibility to reinvest that and make the club better for them. And I think, without saying too much, he was kind of implying that, we are a club with a fan base that is willing to do that. We don't have to look too far across the river to see a fan base who didn't do that when theirs was in trouble. And we've always had a club that is willing to give and give and give, in the hope that it will help not only the needy and the less fortunate, but also the team that we love to succeed at the top of the European table, if at all possible. And that's something that I still hope happens in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I am the eternal optimist when it comes to Celtic. Paddy Burns, welcome. There's so many of you coming in to watch the pre-match against Livingston. Come on the hoops, and for sure you'll be watching it all over the world. Hail, hail, on the hoops, says Michael Ross. We've also got Patrick Harold coming in. Evening, comrades. Jungle Lion. Let's get on to the team. Strong team, says Jungle Lion. Ange got lucky signing those players. Someone during the week says we need to play Lucky Man over the Tannoy at some point by the Verve. I think that would be a wise move. For anyone who hasn't seen the team, I'm going to run through it and then we'll have a wee chat about it. I think that's the best thing to do before a game. Joe Hart in goals, Johnson, Carter, Vickers, Stafford and Taylor at the back. We've got McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly returning to the midfield. Jota, Maeda and Kyogo up top. On the bench, Bain, Haksabanovic, Abada, Moy, Turnbull, Kobayashi, Awata and Forrest. I'm going to ask yourself overall, Kevin McCluskey, what do you make of that side? How similar is it to your predicted lineup that you put out on the blog earlier this afternoon?
Yeah, it's very similar to the one that I put out earlier on. The only difference is Matt O'Reilly coming in for Aaron Moy. And Moy was probably one of maybe 2 or 3 players outside of the backline, I guess, then that I thought was a stick on to play because he's been in such good form lately. But otherwise, I think it's a very strong team. I think it's probably the strongest that we've got available. I would say outside of Moy, obviously, because I had him in my selected team. But I had a feeling before this game and that Ange would play a very strong side in it, that he would go for pretty much the first 11 or full strength 11. I'd seen quite a lot of people suggesting that this might be a game to make 3 or 4 changes in because it's Livy, it's at home, it's a game that we should be on the front foot and looking to win. But I just kind of felt this is one of those games where there's always that potential banana skin feeling with Livingston for some reason because they set up so deep, and Martindale does have his teams well organised. It's one thing you've got to give him credit for. So I had a feeling he would go with a strong side today. He's done that. And, you've just got to look at that 11 and go defensively, incredibly strong with Joe Hart, Carter Vickers, Starfelt at the core of that defence. You've got McGregor and Hatate who's standing in midfield. O'Reilly's got something to prove tonight. So it's a big game for him to come back in. You've got to think that he needs a big performance to keep a place in the team. Otherwise, he could be having another spell back out. And then it's almost regardless of who plays up front, there's so many attacking options there and so much damage that we can cause the opposition. But I'm a big fan of that front 3 as being the front 3.
Yeah.
Because you've got Jota up there who gives you that bit of trickery, the wee bit of kind of bums off seat kind of player that does the unpredictable thing. And what is he good? Was it something like 17 goals and assists or something like that for us. I think it was he got from the weekend. So always a goal threat. Then you've got Maeda, who's just got pace to burn and energy, stretches defences, hustles and harries incredibly well, and does all the dirty work that kind of goes under the radar or used to, until it's now been highlighted more and more of just how important he is. And Kyogo is the best centre forward in Scotland when he wants to be. His movement's incredible. He's got that finishing ability. He's got the ability to frustrate as well, because he does miss an awful lot of chances, or can do. But you'd never rule him out from taking the next one. So I think if you look at that team, it's very strong. And then if you just look at the bench as well, if it's not going right, look at the options that are there. Moy, Haksabanovic, Abada, James Forrest, who I thought might have been an outside chance to play. It's just an incredibly strong side, and one that just gives you so much confidence going into every game that we'll get the result by hook or by crook.
Yeah, hook or by crook, aye. Well said. The thing as well, Laura, I've noticed there's a guitar behind you. You going to give us a tune? I just noticed that.
That is not my guitar. That is my wonderful father's guitar. He would claim to be able to play it as well. I'll leave that up to public opinion. But yeah, not mine. I can hold a note vocally, but instruments are not my forte. No.
Okay, well, maybe at an Acsom night out, you can prove that you can hold a note. The Acsom karaoke is now being launched. Laura, what is your karaoke song? Who knows? Someone asked me to sing at the Brian McClare event, by the way. I was asked to sing a song. I didn't actually sing a song, but I says we could sing The Glory and the Dream. So what we've got now, Laura, is Kevin's given us a rundown of his thoughts on the team. We've got loads of comments coming in. And obviously the big, talking point is Moy. He's not been dropped. You see, this is a big thing with Ange. He's not dropping Moy. It's all about ensuring that O'Reilly continually gets game time in his legs as well. It's the use of the squad to ensure that he himself can be called upon if it is required for any other reason in relation to Moy. And we've been banging on about Moy for a few weeks now, since the World Cup actually, about his commitment and his performances. But he always strikes me as the type of guy that, against Rangers he was left out of the team, and then tonight he's left out of the team. He's not the type of guy that's going to give Ange any kind of headaches, is he, Aaron Moy? He's going to be low maintenance.
No, I think that's one of the main things we've been praising him for. Is low maintenance suggests almost a sense of a lack of ambition. I don't think it is that with him. I think it's just a kind of an ability to be a guy to be relied on, a guy who will do the job that's required of him when it's required of him, and will take a seat in the bench when that's what the manager desires. Now, I hope he's taking a seat in the bench tonight because he's earned a rest, and not because there's anything else going on there. I'm sure it isn't because of any other reason, because I don't think he would be on the bench at all if there was anything untoward going on there in terms of injuries or anything. I am a bit disappointed though, because I had in my head I was going to put a fiver on him for a goal or assist tonight because of the way he's making those runs in the inside channels. But we'll just have to wait and see. Who knows? He might still do that when he comes off the bench, but don't take any betting advice off me, because so far I think I'm down about 3,000 over my lifetime or something like that. But I think he's just a consummate professional. He's a bit like kind of uncomplicated in what he does, but sometimes you need that in a team that's got the flair and the magic that we've got. You need the guys there that will do not so much the dirty work, but more of the hard graft and moving the ball about and being available to take a pass. And that's one thing that I think about Moy that I don't think he gets enough praise for, is he looks slow when he's running. I don't think he does have what you would call pace, but he can get about the pitch. And it's part of his football intelligence that he's maybe not moving quickly, but he's anticipating the play and putting himself in the right positions. And that can be more valuable than somebody who's got a burst of pace about them. They've both got their advantages, obviously, in a game of football, but they're both worth valuing no matter who it comes from.
I feel the same about Carter Vickers, Laura. I was talking to someone at the weekend there who knows a lot more about football than I do. And I says to him that some people say Carter Vickers lacks a bit of pace. I've not seen it. I don't think he does. And I was thinking to myself that it is down to his positional play, his anticipation, that Carter Vickers very rarely seems flustered, tracking back because he's made a mistake or he's been out of position. Very rarely happens. But I do think a big part of that is down to what you were saying there about Moy, just that experience and that awareness, which is astonishing when you think of the age of Carter Vickers. I also think that the way Carter Vickers runs makes him look as though he's not running fast, because it's all bottom of the body stuff. It's not the arms that get going, and it looks as though he's running slow, but he's actually making very, very good progress across the park. We're going to be bringing up a few more of these comments, but that low maintenance comment I made about Moy, it's the same, I think, that we have, same situation we have with Tony Ralston and James Forrest. You're playing one week, you might be on the bench the next, and the gaffer's not going to get any complaints.
Same as your haircut, but...
Low maintenance. Oh, yes. Like that. You're right. It's not been brushed in probably 25 years. I don't own a brush, for anybody who's wondering.
Because it's a wig anyway.
Correct. This is the match day wig. The match day wig for Livingston. Celtic follower. Seriously, I say that because my dad used to work with somebody who had a pit wig, so he would actually have the wig in his locker, put it on before he went today's shift. Brilliant. Looking forward, I'm not going to say who it was. Looking forward to tonight. Hopefully no dodgy decisions against us. We said it last time. Let's hope we're not talking about VAR after this game tonight. I mean, it's kind of like dominating so many conversations post-match, and let's hope it's not the case. I felt, Kevin, that after Ange had come out and criticised it, and Celtic were meant to be having these high-level meetings with the SFA. Don't know if it's happened. We don't get told these things. I thought that it had got back to normal for a game. And then obviously the weekend happens. So hopefully we won't be talking about that at the end of this match.
Aye, it's a bit like Groundhog Day when you do these shows now, because that is the comment that you've got to make, Let's hope we're talking about the football at half-time and full-time and not a VAR decision. And then a minute before half-time, there's a VAR call that's just ridiculous, and it's the only thing you can talk about. But yeah, I kind of felt similar, and maybe we just got lulled into that false sense of security that it's there will be a game where things just go our way, and then that gets highlighted a lot by the press and in the media, and it becomes a thing. Remember the penalty against Morton was never a penalty. See, you do get those decisions. But then, the very next game it comes back, and it kind of just doubles down every time, doesn't it? Because we get a decision in a game where it doesn't really mean that much, but then you go to a league game at 0-0, and there is a very big decision that goes against you. Or you go to your rivals across the end of the city, and you're 2-1 down, and you get a couple of big decisions that go against you. They don't happen when we're 3 or 4-0 up. Mm-hmm. So, you've really got to hope that today is just one of those days where we just go out and do the job. And if there is a decision that goes against us, it doesn't matter because we've already put the game out of sight.
Before I come to Laura, I need to bring this up, Laura. It's in relation to Kevin McCluskey's relaunching and resurrection of the Acsom blog. And it comes from, I've got bad eyesight, by the way, that's why I'm squinting, Mo Sislak, who says, let's not make it ridiculous left wing. Please, you use your iPhone and Western technology. So what we need to do for the blog, Kevin, is it needs to be smoke signals, mate, right? You just need to get the old fire burning. We can't use an iPhone or any kind of technology to make any kind of difference whatsoever. You got that? You cool with that, mate?
Got that. Actually, I was thinking what we'll do is I'll just handwrite everything and we can send them out by carrier pigeon. So if you just want to send your addresses into us, we'll get them sent out.
What a hypocrite you are, seriously, using technology.
I think Mo's been slamming too many Flaming Mo's, by the way. Honest to goodness. I
would suggest so as well. We're already getting some suggestions on the score tonight. 5-0 reckons Martin. I'd love that tonight. 5-0 after the comments from David Martindale. And GP 1888, Martindale will regret his comments after Celtic beat them 7-0 tonight. I hope they do. I absolutely do. And we've got here Ange fielding a solid team. He definitely is. Cathal Griffin, a big hail to Mark as well. Good to see you back in on a chat. I hope you are doing well. And this is what I love seeing. Grayson Heselden Morning from sunny, hot Brisbane, 5:30 a.m., 24 degrees. I think it's 24 degrees. Celtic will be too hot and sticky for Livy. I hope that is the case. But the discussion today, if you've not had a chance to listen to it, because I know it was only a few hours back, John, Patrick, Paddy and Kevin, they were talking about the comments that were made and the fact that we shouldn't really have to justify where we are in relation to the stability of this football club. But if you think back, and I'm talking about Celtic, you think back to the way the club was run pre-McCann, Laura. And in spite of the incredible success that we had, we were run very amateurishly in many, many ways. And that caught up with the board to the point where we had a stadium that was not fit for purpose. We had a board that was not fit for purpose. They could not raise the cash required to take Celtic into the modern day, including the modern stadium that was required after the Taylor report. And it all caught up with us, and we were 8 minutes from the brink of going out of business, which back then was called going into receivership. The terminology's changed the next time it happened in Scottish football. But since then, since Fergus McCann came in, Celtic, I'm not saying they were built from scratch. Of course they weren't. We had an incredible heritage. We had an incredible amount of goodwill and a fan base that stretched across the globe. But the way that they've been run as a business, Laura, is the reason why we have a financial, for me, a financial clout that no other club in Scotland has, and a financial advantage. It's not like we've been given the money or given the advantage. We've earned it, and we've earned it over a series of decades, because you could take that almost as ground zero when Fergus McCann took over, because Celtic were a shambles at that stage, both on the park and off. But since then, we've been run very, very well. So every player that we acquire and make money from, or we develop through our system and make money from, that has been through merit. It's not because we have been given anything whatsoever. And I always remember going back to Jock Stein wanted to have a Celtic B team in the league in 1968. You know, that was the foresight of the man. He was talking about it in 1968. And the team that was more vocal than any other was Partick Thistle. And Partick Thistle complained that, you know, all these fans that could be going to watch Partick Thistle will be watching two Celtic sides every weekend. One will be the reserves and one will be the first team. And Stein came out and said, well, go and attract your own crowd. Go and entertain your own fans. Go and get people through the turnstiles. And I feel a wee bit the same with Livingston. Livingston, who have got what could best be described as a potted past, Laura. And they think that they can be vocal and verbal about the running of Celtic and the standing that we've earned. I think it's a ridiculous thing that Martindale's came out and spoke about this week.
Listen, there's plenty of plays on words I can think would come to mind regarding those comments, but I'm not going to put myself in hot water by actually voicing any of them. Listen, if you're telling me David Martindale wouldn't jump at he might not jump at the chance to be Celtic manager, but I can think of another club he would jump at the chance of managing and would happily spend whatever money they claim to have. So any comments he makes about not having money to spend is only, in my eyes, complete and utter jealousy. And Ange put it, there's no point in reinventing the wheel as far as saying what needs to be said. Ange said it completely succinctly in saying, we are not spending money we don't have. We can pay all the face painters we need to pay. It's unreal to suggest that we're not justified in spending money if we've earned it, and we have earned it.
Yeah,
we've had multiple Champions League runs. We've had deep runs into the Europa League, and before that, the UEFA Cup. We've consistently won trophies in Scotland, and although the money for that isn't as high as in other domestic leagues, it is money in our pocket. There is a reason we are the most successful club, and not to belittle exactly what Andrew was talking about. You know, we're the biggest club with the biggest fan base, and ultimately that means we're going to have the most money to spend. I don't see why it needs commented upon unless you're accepting defeat before you've even walked out in the park. If I'm a player and listen to my manager saying that, my attitude would be, well, what's the point? May as well just down tools and let ourselves get run over. But we all know David Martindale's not going to let a team do that against Celtic.
It's tin pot. It's a tin pot outlook. It's like the person that's no bother to get out their bed on a Monday morning for the last 6 months, looking out their window as you're jumping in your car to go to take a flight for your holiday because you've been working overtime and begrudging you, Kevin. And I'll tell you what. The first comment to come in on this screen here, Pigeon M, 3 points tonight is a target. The score doesn't matter. I think it does. I want to put them to the sword. I'm sorry, this is football, and he's came out with that kind of nonsense. Let's get it right up them, Kevin. Is that how you feel?
Pretty much. There was it Lawrence yesterday on the podcast? I think it was either Lawrence or Liam. I can't remember which one it was, but said that like up until Martindale's come out with his comments, he just wanted to go out there and get the 3 points and get the job done. Then he comes out with that, and you just think, no, actually, let's go out and stuff them. Let's make him eat those words, and let's go and do it. It's I don't know. You just don't come out and say these things, I don't think, before a game like this. It's like, as Laura says, you're almost you're getting your excuses in first, and if you're a player in his team, you're almost going out with a defeatist attitude that you think you've lost the game already. But yeah, it's sour grapes. He's a little bit bitter. He's trying to be smart and play mind games with Ange, as I said before, which is just, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. And absolutely, let's go out there. You'll get my score prediction before you leave unasked, and it's just because his comments. I'm going for a 5-0 tonight.
Oh,
because,
yes.
Listen, what he's done is he's given Ange his team talk. All Ange has to say is he thinks we're so far ahead of them. Let's show them how far ahead we are. Like, that's all he needs to say to them tonight. And hopefully
it's one of those
ones
where you just you take the statement, you pin it up on the wall, and you just go, right, lads, go out there. Aye, let's prove them right. Let's put 3, 4, 5 past them and show them just how good we really are.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Niall the Punk reckons that we're a couple of Niles short in the Acsom team as well. Well, if you fancy putting that right, give us a shout. Matt O'Reilly, get in. You remember how excited we all were with the performances of Matt O'Reilly, and he's been out the team because Aaron Moy's been undroppable, I think I called him. Here's an interesting one. Obviously, there's been loads of talk about the January transfer window. We all know what happened. I probably would have liked a few more bodies out the door, actually, because there's a few that are surplus to requirements are not contributing. But Kinky Cadeti, no Bernabe or Welsh on the bench. I'd say Ange will bin both in the summer. Well, see, what's interesting is there was talk about Welsh, and there was talk that maybe Hibs were interested, and I had a similar conversation with an Aberdeen fan about Scales. There's no way they're going to get binned because there's a value. There's a value with these players. Stephen Welsh, when he had interest from Udinese and Toulouse, the transfer fee was actually quite large, Laura, too large for any other Scottish football club, probably Rangers included, that Celtic were looking for. And Liam Scales, we bought him for £500,000. And the transfer fee that they were talking about prior to Aberdeen's capitulation at Pittodrie against Celtic during the charity weekender was 750 grand for Liam Scales. So, yeah, there might be surplus to requirements at Celtic, but you've got to find a club that's prepared to make that kind of payment. Celtic certainly are not going to lose money on guys like that. Bernabe's been quite a substantial investment as well, around £4 million. So I don't think Ange is going to cut them loose. I think the low-risk signings like Abelgard, easy to tear that up. Jens, easy enough to stop the loan. And others like Ideguchi. I mean, it cost us in the region of something like 700 grand. It's just not worked out. We're going to just cut our losses on some of these guys, but I can't see us doing it with Welsh or Bernabe.
No, I can't either. Welsh, especially given he's been an academy product, there's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resource gone in to getting him to the stage he's at. Celtic want to recoup that. So even though they're not trying to recoup a transfer fee, in a lot of ways, they're trying to recoup a lot more than that. And so they'll be wanting to value him for as long as he's got a decent amount of time left on his contract. They'll be wanting to value him. Listen, Liam Scales, I think if you could get a bag of chips and a can of milk for him at this point, you'd be doing well. He was absolutely atrocious for Aberdeen the other day. So I don't see us holding out for much more for him. But listen, it goes back to Ange's comments. being a Celtic player has an inherent value in and of itself. So if a player signs for Celtic, regardless of whether they have a good period at the club or they don't, they've added to their value by being a Celtic player, and we need to reflect that in any fee that we demand when they get moved on.
It's an interesting one because I remember when Scales came in, I got a bit of flack because I wasn't being respectful enough to the Irish leagues. But I think we've brought in a couple of players. We've brought in Johnny Kenny as well and Liam Scales, and we've simply not had anything at all from these guys. So I don't think it's a market we'll be exploring anytime soon. Game's kicked off. Let's go to the action. And by the way, the three of us will be back at half-time. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. And thank you, Kevin McCluskey, Laura Bradburn, for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.